Guess what we're making today? It's Tag Tuesday. Does that give you a tip? Hi, this is Kelly with Kelly's Creative Dreams, and today we are working with the kit from ArtyMaze for the June challenge at Junkies with ArtyMaze's kit. And today we're going to do a tag, and I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. I have so much to do today. I don't mean to cut you guys short, but I want to try and get this video done and next Monday's video done, and probably Tuesdays, because I leave tomorrow morning for a writer's conference and I won't be home until late Monday. So let's see what of this we can get done. I'm going to start with using one of my silicone mats from Stampin' Up! Because I don't want to get glue everywhere. And I'm going to cover the base of this tag with the book paper from that Reader's Digest. Sorry, I've only had half a cup of coffee this morning, but I got to get rolling. And we're just going to cover it with, I just slap it right in the middle. I know I'm going to have overhang. We can trim that off. My key thing is I can reuse the pieces for clusters or whatnot. I decided I am going to make this a journal. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. I'm going to flip that over. And I'm going to take my baby wipe here, and I guess that's paper. And that's okay if that comes off, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do on the back here in just a bit. But I want to get this trimmed up first. Now, when I had my studio in the basement, and I had done some organizing, I had taken a bunch of file folders and cut them down into tag bases. I probably have 300 tag bases. So it was easy to start with this morning. Just pull one of these bases out. And you know, on a day when you really don't feel like actually crafting and your brain just doesn't want to cooperate, get out your cardstock or file folders or whatever and just make a bunch of bases. Just cut them apart and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so now this side, yesterday while I was organizing the office corner, I found this legal pad. I have no clue how old this legal pad is, but the paper color matches this whole thing perfectly. So once again, I'm going to run the glue on this. And I was smart this morning for not being awake. I went through and I pulled out my ribbon that I wanted to use, pulled out any potential rub-ons I might want to use. Now I want to avoid this top up here. In fact, let's go ahead and cut it off so we don't get it on there. It feels like I have two sheets there. I do. Let's separate that for starters. And we're just going to put this down right here. Now my squeegee is from Dollar Tree. You can use one from your actual Cricut, but this is what they are for using the vinyl. And we're just going to cut like that. I want to flip it over and make sure I don't have any glue hanging out the sides. Tags are really quick. They're, you know, aside from, especially if you have the bases done. I mean, if you primarily work with book pages, once you have those bases cut, you could go through and cover a whole bunch of them with the book pages, and then they're ready for you to decorate with whatever you're going to be working with on a project. So I'm going to cut this one across the top. Now I'm saving those little bits, but I'm not going to save the corner pieces. We're going to take the corner pieces off. And those we will pitch. Okay, now that's the side we're going to work with. And I'm going to wipe off my silicone mat here, because I do want to keep it handy. Now I have some pieces cut out. I also have some of these that we tore yesterday. And remember yesterday I mentioned that I thought the walnut stain was a little dark. But that before I started using Tim Holtz stuff, I used Stampin' Up! And my favorite was this creamy caramel. And I've got a sheet here that I can show you. See, that's just perfect. So I've got that handy, and I will keep it handy for this. And now that I know for sure I'm in frame, I can sit down, and I'm going to take a drink of my coffee before we dive in. Oh, needed that this morning. So I'm thinking, I want to come in a diagonal over here, and I don't think this one's going to be wide enough to do a diagonal, so I need to come back into one of those pieces that I've torn already. Let me pilfer through here and find one. Get my box of tags out of the way. I also have some wording from Art by Marlene. I will spit that out. Here's that one we had yesterday. Yeah, let's start up here and just kind of give this a tear at a diagonal. Where is my tear ruler? Let's use the tear ruler. Since I have to go at that angle, I think I'd rather use my tear ruler. And I keep all of my rulers, I know I have a few, on this circle ring, key ring. And let's do this. That tag needs to come off about here. So I'm just going to give that a little bit tear right there to mark my spot. And that's where I want to come down with this tear ruler at. I'm just going to tear this off out of the way. Oh, you know what? I need to go this way with this because I'm going to have to tear from this side. And I don't want the white. So let's flip this over so I can take and tear that. There we go. A little smoother than I wanted, but that's okay. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Tim Holtz distressing tool. And I'm just going to distress it a little bit so it looks like it's worn wallpaper. Now that tear ruler has a little bit of a decal to it. But I want this to really be roughened up. Not quite so symmetrical. I'm just going to take that. Now if you don't have the tear ruler, you can take a pair of scissors and do the same thing. And really just rough it up. Paper's a little harder to do than cardstock because it's flimsy. It's not as stiff. Okay, so now we've got that, and I'm going to dust this with the creamy caramel. And now I can sit down again. So what's everybody's doing this week? How was your Monday? Mondays always get the bad rap, but you know, you can get a lot done on a Monday because you want it. You're fresh from energy from the weekend, and you want to dive in and you want to get stuff done. There. See, that's not as dark as what we had yesterday. I like that. I'll get my glue back over here. Now, a lot of people will use a glue stick. I do not like a glue stick. I want my projects to hold. And glue sticks, I don't care how great they tell you they are. Unless you're going to go back over them with a matte medium or something to stabilize them, glue sticks will release in temperature changes and humidity and that kind of thing. So they're not really the perfect thing to use in a project that you want to last. Now I've got that one there. Take that, squeegee that down. Then we'll come back in here, trim up our edge. Just like that. And get it off my fingers. Okay, now we have some of these ephemera pieces to work with. I'm going to slide that to the side for a minute. And we have, so I think, let me go this way. So I think that's going to be bigger than I wanted. I can't use the postcards because they're going the wrong direction. The roses would be pretty. I have a feeling I'm going to be making multiple copies of this digital, just so I can have all those rose prints. This still had a pretty healthy white edge to it, not something I was going to be able to cover. So we've got that one. We also have this one. Now, instead of gluing this down all the way, I could have left this open and made that a pocket. I don't think that one pops as well as the other one does. And we've got that one, and then we've got that one. I really like the color tone on that one. But we've got a couple more here to look at. This just doesn't look right to me for a rectangular tag. But that doesn't say it's not going to work. These again are too small. Postcard going the wrong direction. This I'm going to lose a lot of. I don't think that one's too big and that one's going the wrong direction. So it's going to be between these two. And the more I look at the roses, I really like those because it lets these roses from the background pop out a little bit. I think I like that one. So let's distress this. Like I said, this was going to be an easy one this morning. I still have to pack. I have got to run and pay bills. Then come home and pack. I have 4 blog posts I need to get up very first thing this morning. And I think I'm going to be sweet talking my hubby into making me breakfast, which is going to be a sausage patty and a couple of eggs, because I'm out of bread till I go to town. I didn't make bread this week. I'd hoped to get to it to make bread for him and maybe some cinnamon rolls while I was gone. And that didn't happen, so we're going to come over here, get back on our glue mat. Now, I tend to lose track of these, so every time I place a Stampin' Up! Order, I order a couple. And I've started keeping them in the box with my replacement blades so I know where they were at. And the ones that I use, like this one, it hangs on the utility cart over here on the punch cart with by one of these that you get in like a 10 or 12 pack from Dollar Tree. I use those for everything. I have them in the kitchen. I have them in multiple places in the office. They're just easy to work with. And I didn't quite get that centered. That's as close as it's going to get. Come back in with my squeegee again and make sure that's down. Now I've got something up here, and I'm going to put a ribbon in here. I looked at the greens in here, and I have this seam binding from Stampin' Up! That I think is going to be perfect for that. But I feel like this needs something. So I think I'm going to use a piece of this again. And I'm going to make a hole reinforcer. You know what that needs to be? A piece of vanilla. Let me grab a piece of vanilla cardstock scrap up here. All these wonderful scraps, and I store all my scraps in a page protector in front of where I have the full sizes filed, and I think this one here is going to be perfect size for me to take a punch off of, except it's paper. I'll have to look and see what Tiny Couture Creations is. This one will work, and my 1/2-inch hole punch. Now your standard paper punch is a 1/4 inch. And I start by punching a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to do 2 because no, you know what? I didn't want to do a hole punch on here. I wasn't going to do a hole punch. Let's do the hole punch today because I've started this. So you punch. Trying to see. Punch out no. Wrong direction, Kelly. You got to punch the 1/4 inch first because you're never going to be able to come in here and punch this. It'll drive you crazy. So you're going to punch a 1/4 inch, scoot over and do another 1/4 inch. Then come back with your 1/2 hole punch, 1/2 inch hole punch, and do that. Now this is another thing you could do ahead of time is make hole reinforcers in all kinds of colors. And keep them in one of these little bead boxes by rainbow order. And you'd have those. Now I do want to dust these a little bit. So I'm going to leave them, I think I'm going to try leaving them down there. And I'm just going to do that. Just take the newness off of them, so they aren't quite so starch creamy color. Okay. And then, now I could run these through the Xyron, but you know what? I'm going to use my tweezers and I'm going to use my glue. Flip them over so I'm putting the glue on the back side, because I didn't intentionally distress the whole thing. Like that. And like that. Now, I'm not going to put these both on at the same time. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one and lay it on the front. Just like that. Give it a minute to dry. Close up my creamy caramel. And then come back in with my 1/4-inch hole punch and punch through the center of that one. And then that's going to tell me where this one needs to go on the back side. Just like that. Okay. Now, I do still want to use the ribbon. Just wasn't where I was headed to begin with this morning. And I don't need a lot of it. I mean, tags don't require a lot. So I'm going to find my pink-handled scissors. I've even trained Bob as to which scissors are which. These are easier to get to right now without spilling my coffee. And this needs to come off, this end. So I'm going to take it, nip it off. And this should give me plenty. Now, if I want to get particular, and I may in future videos, I can get my iron out and I can press this out smooth. But I'm not doing that this morning. I'm just not doing that this morning. But I am going to come in through here, through our hole. And initially I was going to staple this in place, but for this morning, since we did the hole, mostly because that top just needed something. Now, I could tie this like this, and I can still come back in with my iron later and press this flat, or use my straightener. But what I'm going to do is do that later. But I am going to come over here, and I have some linen thread. It'll be perfect for this. And I opened up, you know, a new one because good. It was easier to grab. But this is linen thread from Stampin' Up! Also. You'll find me using a lot of Stampin' Up! Products because I used to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I like Stampin' Up! Products. Politics aside. Excuse me, it is early. Now, remember that little pink clip that we had? This is where this comes in handy in being a third set of fingers for you. Come in here and clamp that close with that. Then you can come back and tie this off. And by doing this, you get a little extra texture, but you don't get all the bulk of actually tying the ribbon. This adds a little extra something to your tag. Just like that. And yeah, I know I cut that too long, but that's okay. I'll find some place to use it later. Like that. Okay? And then we take this off. And then we come back with those scissors. And you know, I think before well, yeah, because we've got that one done. So let's go ahead and nip this one off this way. Just like that. That we won't keep. And there is our tag for Tag Tuesday. Now, I feel like this needs something here. But, you know, going into pockets, you don't want anything that has any bulk to it. So, I think what I'm going to do, I'm looking to see if there is something here that I could add. That might work, but it needs trimmed down a lot. Let's try fussy cutting this one out real quick and see what happens. Pearl River ticking. Do you know what ticking is? If you know what ticking is, leave it in the comments for me. I'd love to know if you know what ticking is. And next week, I will tell you. And there may even be an envelope for those, go into a drawing for those who guessed appropriately. Now, did I need to cut this out? No. Do I have time this morning? No. But when your project says, I'm naked down here, what are you going to get? What do you put on me? You figure it out. And you try and do it on the fly. And, of course, this was small and laying here. And it had some design to it, which made it a perfect envelope and element to add a little something extra to the project. So let's do this like this, and we're almost there. Several years ago, I went to Joann's, which I'm sorry to see them closing, but I got a roll of teddy bear ticking ribbon. I'm not even sure. I'm sure I still have some of it somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where. Oh, last week, while I'm cutting this out, last week I went to Goodwill to drop off some plastic shopping bags, because they now accept, some stores are now accepting those. They've gotten away from we don't do plastic bags to now please bring us your plastic bags. So I found a 20, I think it's like a 20-gallon tub, maybe it's a 12-gallon tub. And it was full of discarded ribbon from the clearance aisle at Hobby Lobby. Oh, it was so hard to leave that tub of ribbon. Bobby, I think, was so proud of me because I didn't come home with it. But it was $30, and I tell you, if Bobby had been gone, if I'd have found it the week Bob was in Iowa, it probably would have come home. I think I like that there, so let's go ahead and put some glue on this, dust the edges of our tag, and this will be done. Now, I want to make sure that I get glue up here in these corner points, because as I go in and out of a pocket, those are going to be the first areas that are going to start coming up on me, start lifting. I need my tweezers. I'm tired of wearing glue. So we're going to put that right there. I'll grab my fabric here, my baby wipe, press that down, and then we're going to come back. And I'm just going to go straight with the ink pad and distress the edges of this. Probably should have done the edges before I put that ribbon on, but it's early. We've been through this. It's early. And there is our tag for Tag Tuesday and my weekly project for the Junk Journal Junkies Week 1 project. So I will see you back here hopefully next Monday. But if it's not, you know I ran out of time today. But I will be back with more projects from this and other things in my studio. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. Creative blessings.